Title: The Reel of Forgotten Dreams. In a sleepy town known as Black Hollow, a dilapidated cinema sat at the edge of the woods. The flickering marquee, long devoid of neon lights, had been deserted for nearly a decade. Local kids whispered about its haunted past, claiming it had once showcased films that never made it to wide release, unaired movies that held dark secrets. They said if you stayed too long, you might find more than just dust lurking in the shadows. 17-year-old Clara was different from the rest. While her friends scoffed at the tales, she was fascinated. Her father had been a film critic who often spoke of lost films, projects that never saw the silver screen but lingered in the annals of notoriety. And when she and her friends stumbled upon the abandoned cinema one windy afternoon, her breath hitched with excitement. "Can you imagine what we might find inside?" she asked, daring them to follow her into the world of forgotten dreams. The heavy wooden doors creaked open, and Clara felt a rush of cold air envelop her, almost as if the building were exhaling. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of decay, and torn red velvet seats lined the walls, while old film reels lay scattered across the floor like broken promises. "Come on, this place is creepy," whispered Lexi, Clara's best friend, glancing over her shoulder at the growing shadows. But Clara's curiosity pushed her deeper into the forgotten labyrinth. They stumbled upon a small projection room at the back. Dust particles danced in the beams of fading light that slipped through cracked windows. Clara's heart raced as she noticed an unmarked film reel sitting idly on the projector. "What if this is one of those unaired films?" she said, excitement bubbling in her veins. Her friends exchanged uncertain glances but eventually shrugged, encouraging her to proceed. Clara meticulously set up the projector, her hands trembling with anticipation. The whirring sound filled the room, and as the film began to play, the frames flickered with an eerie life of their own. The images warped and twisted, revealing scenes of a serene family picnic morphing into chaotic nightmares. Recurring images of shadowy figures gliding behind trees, a tall man in a black coat, darkened eyes glistening with malice, and a distant echo of their laughter, or perhaps it was crying. "Turn it off," Lexi shouted, gripping Clara's arm tightly as grotesque figures danced across the screen, moments where smiles turned into screams. But Clara, entranced, couldn't tear her eyes away. There was something hypnotic about the way the shadowy figures moved, as though they were trying to communicate a dreadful secret. Suddenly, the film warped into a chilling scene where the cloaked figure entered an equally decrepit cinema, eerily similar to the one Clara stood in. The hairs on Clara's arms stood on end. There was something about the man that resonated deep within her, a connection she couldn't quite grasp. Then he turned. His gaze was fixed directly at the camera. Clara gasped. His eyes were her father's. It was an uncanny resemblance that pricked her memories, dredging up emotions long buried. "This is wrong. We should leave," Lexi urged, dread creeping into her voice. But Clara, lost in memories of her father's tales, remained entranced. What happened to him while he was here? She wondered. In a sudden fit of curiosity, she shouted, "Show me more." With that plea, the screen shimmered violently and morphed into flashes of sinister laughter, eyes peering through the cracks of the film, leering at Clara. The room grew cold, and Clara felt the weight of unseen bodies pressing around her, urging her deeper into the plot. Lexi pulled her away from the projector, but it was too late. The world spun around them, the room darkening as the shadows reached out, swirling into a vortex. Clara stumbled, feeling the floor vanish beneath her. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the projection room but in a gleaming cinema adorned with vibrant posters and cascading lights, an enigma of contradiction. She glanced beside her and saw the cloaked figure from the film, now standing next to her as if he had stepped right out of the screen. "Hurry, join the show." The voice was familiar yet sinister, resonating through the wide hall. It was her father, the man who had captivated audiences with his insights, now beckoning her to join the darkness. In that wave of recognition, panic surged within Clara. "No, I won't stay here." She twisted away from him, and the beautiful cinema twisted into the decaying remnants of the one she had found. Her friends lay unconscious on the floor, shadows encircling them. "You wanted to find the truth," the voice whispered. "Now, your real story begins." With adrenaline coursing through her, Clara lunged for the projector. She couldn't let the film claim her friends, just as it had claimed others before. She tore the film reel from the projector, yanking it with all her strength and crashing it onto the ground. The film snapped, unraveling as acrid smoke billowed upward, enveloping them in a swirling shroud. As the shadows roared in despair, Clara half-dragged, half-carried her friends out of the cinema. The air grew lighter, brighter, and the lingering reaches of the film receded as they burst through the doors of the cinema. The dilapidated facade shifted and crumbled behind them, devouring a world they were never meant to touch. Clara vowed to remember. Some tales were never meant to be viewed. As they stumbled away into the golden sunset of Black Hollow, they took a long and grateful breath, free from the grip of the forgotten reel.